What's poppin', everybody? Welcome to Tom and Joy Entertainment, a.k.a. TJENT. This is Straight Gamin, episode 3 for week 3. I don't know where I was going with that, because usually I say, like, episode whatever of Real Talk, so it's kind of...
Part something.
Yeah, I gotta get used to the new title, the new rigmarole. I'm one of your hosts, Joey Prokes. Alongside me is my partner in Prime.
Nice.
Tom, how you doing?
Good.
Good? Just good?
Yeah. I mean, my fantasy team took a big old dump.
Yeah, you and me both.
But I'm technically winning, so at least that's, I mean, okay.
I should change my team name to the Handy Quacks.
Nah, nice.
If fantasy football aside, I mean, just a short note, my team is just riddled with injuries. It's just nonstop.
Yep.
Greg Olsen, Danny Woodhead, Andrew Luck. It's just,
Ugh.
it never ends.
Ugh.
Fantasy football showing its glorious head.
I hate you.
Yes.
But I love you.
Absolutely.
Come back.
Yeah. So this is Straight Gamin every single week. Tom and I come, and every single Monday, actually, to be more specific, on noon Eastern time here on youtube.com/TJENT. We discuss just all things gaming. We tell you what we're playing, some stories of the week, and then we always have our topic of the show. And speaking of, today's episode is going to be a little bit different because what we're currently playing is going to tie into our topic of the show, because we're just going to kind of splurge on the game that we're playing, because it's a big game. It's very popular right now. You could probably, I mean, if you see the thumbnail, most likely you'll probably know what we're talking about.
And we've already talked about it once.
Yes. But it's one of the biggest games on right now and currently breaking records with how many players are playing at one time. And we wanted to kind of link, because we just have a lot of stuff to say. Tom's playing a lot of the single player, a lot more than I have, and I've played a lot more of the multiplayer. So we're just kind of go at it from two different ends and just kind of talk about our general thoughts and kind of maybe give a makeshift review of the game almost. But it's not like we're going to be issuing like final scores or anything.
Right.
So without further ado, let's swan dive into episode 3 of Straight Gamin', and we're going to start out today a little bit different. We're going to go with our stories of the week, and I got 3 stories for you this week. So the first one is a fan-made Super Mario 64 game where it gives you the ability to play full-blown multiplayer on a Nintendo 64 game.
And I've seen some like snippets of the actual gameplay, and it is sick.
Yeah, you see all the players lined up and stuff.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And to give you kind of a idea of how it works, so you're not all Mario. You can pick different characters, but each character has different abilities too. So, and it's legit all the original levels. If you remember playing Super Mario, then it's all the same. And some of them are like races to see who can beat the level first.
Yeah.
Some of them, I mean, there's different game modes too. But you want to talk about something to like take the gaming world by storm?
Yeah, right.
Holy crap.
A Super Mario game that's online.
Yeah.
Or like a Super Mario like based RPG. Because I mean, Super Mario 64, it wasn't necessarily an RPG, but it was like a story-driven
as
Mario
close
game.
as you can get to in back in that day.
Yeah, exactly. So the article is from Polygon, one of our trusted news sources when it comes to gaming news. It said a fan-made version of Super Mario 64 reinvents the Nintendo 64 classic into an online multiplayer game. Super Mario 64 Online, they even have their own logo and name already.
That's nuts.
Yeah, right?
How fast that happens.
Right? And this is just some dude that creates mods. I mean, you hear about mods usually in games like Fallout or Skyrim, because I remember...
Or Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto especially, because you can... I remember seeing hands down my favorite mod that I've ever seen was just a gigantic troll against Samsung, because remember when they had their phones, like, had those explosion problems?
Yeah.
Someone put a mod into GTA where they turned grenades into Samsung phones. I saw that shit, and I saw like the actual gameplay of him throwing shit, and that was so hilarious. And then they got other mods like you can become Iron Man, or the Hulk, and stuff like that.
I've seen one in Fallout where all the trash cans have a copy of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare in them.
Really? Yeah. That's awesome. And it's like you can have those big mods where it comes to the point where, like I said, you're Iron Man, you have all of his abilities and do all this stuff.
Or just the dumbest of shit.
Exactly.
That's just hysterical.
And you can put the Samsung grenades into that group
in
too.
Fallout, you can do one where the entire environment is brought back to life and you have grass and trees and everything.
Really?
And it looks so sick.
That's nuts.
Yeah, the entire map.
That's insane. Because I mean, it's pretty much just you put these games on PC, then it's just like an open playground.
Well, that's on Xbox.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all the mods on Fallout, they released them like the actual game.
Well, I think the mods are originally created with the PC version.
No, yeah, they definitely are. But
okay.
you can get them on your console now.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So you go into the market, you're like literally going into the game, and you can just preload them up. Same ones.
Yeah, because the one that sticks out in my eye with Skyrim in particular is that you can ride dragons too and travel with dragons. And it's just like, that's something that, I mean, dragons, especially when you talk about Skyrim in particular, it's such an integrated part of the game. Like that's part of the hard story. It's for someone to just be able to create a mod like that, and that changes the entire facet of the game to the point where you can ride a dragon. That's just so cool.
And I think as a developer, when you get pissed at people saying, "Oh, we don't like this about your game," why not give them the ability to fix it on their own?
Yeah,
you know, because if people are pissed, just say, "Okay, well then fix it," and then you can upload it, and then everyone else will download it.
Not to mention, if
everyone will be happy with that.
Yeah, not to mention if they make, or if you give them the ability to do these things. I mean, it's just gonna up your like
retention rate.
Yeah, and your sale value, because you talk about, okay, you can have this game and we give you the base of the game, but if you want to add something, shit, if you are able to do it,
go for it.
Go for it.
All you, dog.
Yeah,
totally agree.
So this Super Mario 64 Online lets up to 24 players roam around.
Yeah.
It says the blocky mushroom kingdom.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, you can pick from a bunch of different characters, such as Princess Peach, even up to
Waluigi and stuff.
Waluigi, Wario,
like some
Luigi,
newer Mario characters
that you wouldn't see in the original Super Mario 64.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
And then, like you said, every character has unique powers and abilities. But pretty much, I just wanted to bring up this story just because that's just shows
pretty awesome.
Yeah, it just shows you how, especially from a game that, I mean, because we talk about mods with PC games mostly because that's really what the most of the time they're generated from.
You have the most capabilities.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so cool to think that when I initially saw this, I was like, a mod with a Nintendo 64 game?
Yeah.
That just seems... And let alone, like when we were talking about that still picture of all the players lined up, to actually see that in that environment is so cool.
And, I mean, it kind of shows you, too, that, you know, we're getting all these new video games. We're getting all this new, like, bells and whistles stuff that you think everyone's going to jump all over. And some people aren't.
Yeah.
And growing numbers are not jumping all over it. And they're going back, and I mean, I had a GameCube, an N64, and an PlayStation 2 in my dorm or in my college house every single year.
Yeah,
and we played them. It wasn't like they collected dust. Mm-hmm. We played them quite a bit. Yeah. So, I mean, there's something to be said for games that are either being revamped, like Crash Bandicoot, or you just going back and saying, let's just tweak it a little bit, throw it online, and then people are going to go nuts for it.
And you see like a game like Crash Bandicoot because, I mean, it was on PS4 only, but in terms of the PS4 online game sales, it was in the top 5 for like months at a time.
Yeah.
So you get this idea, especially when you're a gaming developer, you have these classic games, and like we talked about before with Activision bring back, let's say, MW2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, if they were to bring that back, you get kind of this nostalgic value because you look at a game like Crash Bandicoot, it's like, okay, this is a completely, I mean, this is not a new experience.
No.
Like, people have played this game before.
Multiple times.
Yeah. And you just revamp the graphics, improve the gameplay a little bit, just the motion and like kind of the mechanics a little bit, and resell it. And
good to go.
I think especially another big part of why it sold so well was the $40 value.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you retool
I didn't know, but I'm in that minority group that's like,
well, you're such a huge Crash fan.
I would have paid $80 for it.
Blank paycheck,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Or blank check. So yeah, it's just funny to see that these nostalgic games, and we've talked about it before with our generation liking that nostalgic value, and it's funny to see how successful these games are, and it's interesting to see what other companies are going to take that information and do with it because I'm really curious to see what other games now they come out and remaster.
Right.
Because one that you want to see is Spyro, and that's going to be the number one that is on.
God.
That's that is the number one in the rumor mill right now.
That dude, because
is that Naughty Dog?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I'm pretty sure I'd vomit profusely for about a week. I would get physically ill if that happened.
You and a lot of people.
I would say that's got to be number one. That's number 2 for remastered.
Yeah.
MW2 would be my number 1.
Number 1. Yeah.
And the fact that both of those, it's not. We always joke around with soccer like rumors. Oh, if they're not even talking about it, it's never going to happen. The fact that people are on the same page.
Because that's one thing that, you know, especially when it comes to rumors in general, when there are multiple sources that are saying the same thing, then it's like, ooh,
maybe
I have some room to get excited.
Yeah, those would be, ooh,
yeah,
yikes. And if you're gonna redo stuff, it's got to be originals too. It can't be PlayStation 2 games. It can't be GameCube games because PlayStation 2 maybe. GameCube graphics are pretty good. Yeah, honestly.
Well, I mean, it's like because we talked about this before. Nintendo's graphic engine,
they're pretty timeless.
Yeah, because I mean, it looks you could pick out minor details if you want to be nitpicky with the difference between, let's say, the GameCube and the Switch, but really from like a naked eye, and if you're just glancing at them, you really can't tell the difference.
But I mean, N64 to the Switch.
Oh,
I mean,
that's just nobody's business.
and PlayStation 2, there's some games that you go back and they're still pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably some that,
Because the first thing that comes to my mind, like a game like God of War, because you never played God of War, right?
I did not.
Did you at least see some?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like God of War on PS2, I feel like you could easily port that to PS3 and it could fit.
Yeah.
Like the graphic, you wouldn't have anybody complaining about the graphics.
There's a game called Bounty Hunter where you play as Jango Fett. It's an entire game just totally around him, and I've seen those graphics and they aren't that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty
They're
impressive.
passable.
Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know if I had to pick one, and I remember thinking about this before. Def Jam Fight for New York would definitely be up there. It's one of my all-time favorite games, and I just wish they would make it backwards compatible on the Xbox One for fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
And also DJ Hero, because I mean, the biggest thing is,
but that's not being remastered. You just want a new version.
Well, I don't even know. I wouldn't even want a new version. I just want the controller to be compatible with the Xbox One, because that's all you need. Right.
But like the remastering it wouldn't do anything.
Right.
Because I was thinking about that, and I would love to have a new NFL Street.
Yeah.
But I don't want the old one remastered. I want a new one.
Yeah, that's true.
I want one that's fully torqued with updated rosters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if you're going to say we're going to keep the same vibe of DJ Hero 1 and not go like super poppy and trendy with DJ Hero 2, then yeah, I'd be totally down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring up that story because it's just shows, since this show is all about gaming, it just shows that when you go to gamers and you give these gamers these type of capabilities, it's pretty sweet and amazing to see what they can do.
Remastered Pokemon Stadium.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's like that Pokken tournament is kind of like that.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
No, absolutely
and
not.
anyone that's like grew up in Pokemon Stadium,
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like, I mean, it's kind of like kissing your sister.
Yeah.
It's just like Pokemon tournament.
It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
So the second story of the week has to do with PUBG, otherwise known as PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which, a quick side note, I was talking to Tom about this before we started recording. I don't want to say I've had a falling out of PUBG, but, and this is the reason why I've had a falling out is because the reason why you don't even get into the game to begin with. But lately, I've had like 4 or 5 matches in a row where I've played with friends of the show, Tanner and Connor, shout out, Patreon supporters. And the idea of what makes PUBG great is all the stealth aspects that I like, everyone starts on a level playing field, everyone like pretty much has the same opportunities to get whatever you want. I mean, there's obviously strategy in the game when it comes to knowing where to go.
Yeah, right.
But the last few games, I've made it to like the top 20, in some instances the top 10, and I'm playing for 40 to 45 minutes, and 2 games in a row where I got the Tommy gun. So pumped. One game I even had a silencer for the Tommy gun, and I didn't fire a single shot. Not
that's
one.
Insane.
Not one single. And that's not even like, I'm not even talking about a shot just like for fun. Like I could even get that off because you get shot from places you don't even know where they're coming from, and you just die instantly, and there's nothing you can do about it, and the game ends. So it's like, I love PUBG and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and it's very enjoyable and very fun. But I've had a falling out, and it's definitely changed me to another game, but we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
But unrelated to my personal experiences with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, it is breaking records as we speak. It's probably already broken another record.
Right.
So this article is published on September 16th, and this is from Game Informer, another trusted source of gaming news. And then he said, as of this writing, Battlegrounds today peaked at 1,349,584 players, the highest game ever played on Steam.
That's actually outrageous to think about.
Because we talked about it before with like the 90 plus players in the lobby, and that has something to do with how many players can play at one time.
Right.
And their retention rate when it comes to you die, you exit,
you
in a game
back in,
within 15 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. That's huge.
Yeah, but the fact that it's passing games like Dota 2 and League of Legends and CS:GO even to the point where, and this game is still in early access.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily a game yet.
Right.
And yet over 1.3 million players are playing and it's not even like game sales or like users that have signed up with PUBG or
yeah,
users that
right.
play
It's just people actively on it
at
right
the
that
same
second.
time,
That's
simultaneously.
insane. And I mean, when you run the metrics, I mean, think about if you took the United States population of 350 million people, take out all the people who are like 60 and up that probably wouldn't play it, and get rid of all the people who are like maybe like 10 and under. Take away the female population, because a lot of females probably don't play PUBG, I would imagine.
Yeah.
That might be stereotypical to say, but
Yeah.
I'd assume. That's like, I mean, you're getting to the point where you're saying like 3 to 4% of the population is all doing one activity, which is playing not just video games, but one video game at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And actually, contrary to your claim there, it was so funny. I was just perusing Twitch last night for some random reason before I went to bed and seeing who was playing.
Oh, and there's a girl playing it?
No, there was a super old guy, like in his 70s, that was playing it. And because you can put like little taglines to get people attention when it comes to your stream. And it was something to do with, I think it was the only retirement home in gaming or something like that, or something
That's
like
great.
The only person who's gaming in a retirement home or something like that. And I turned it on, and it was so funny because he didn't really interact a lot with. He had like 200, 300 viewers though, so that was pretty impressive.
Right.
But it was just so funny to see someone like that in that age group to be.
I mean, yeah,
let alone playing the game.
Yeah.
To be streaming on Twitch as well.
Yeah, right.
That's just.
I mean,
hilarious.
obviously, there's going to be exceptions no matter what, but just generally speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
especially a game that I have no desire to play whatsoever.
Yeah, why do you think, and this is kind of what I wanted to do with this story in particular, because I mean the record itself is impressive, but what do you think drives something like this? Like, what do you think causes this just completely, you think about it conceptually, of just dropping someone in and it's almost like a battle royale type atmosphere. What do you think something about PUBG or this concept of this game, or even the way it's organized, why do you think it's taken the game like community by storm so much?
Well, I mean, if you look at the other, like two of the other most popular, you said, I don't know if it's Dota or Dade or
I
whatever.
think it's Dota.
Okay, so let's say it's Dota. That and Counter-Strike. Games I haven't played, but I've watched. I've at least seen the gameplay footage. Right. They're all pretty similar in the sense that the graphics are nothing to grab. Like
CS:GO, especially, those graphics are shitty.
Like they're nothing to brag about.
Yeah,
and they kind of have a similar feel to them on the PC. Like just the general concept of shooting, the active motion, whatever. But I think what PUBG has for it, kind of helping it out, is the fact that games are really fucking long.
Yeah.
And if you're spending like 35 minutes playing a game and you die, you're probably like, fuck. All right, I'll play another.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you almost have to at that point. So I think that helps its cause. I think the reason why it kind of took everything by storm is because it took a concept that everyone liked, but made it so you kind of have to stick around a lot longer, but it's easier to get back into it.
Yeah.
So if you've made all this progress, there's no progress to be made, really. Mm-hmm. Like there's no campaign. There's no, I don't know, like mission to do.
Yeah, the only thing you do, like the more games you play and the better you do, you earn gold. Right. And then you can buy these packs, but all it does is give you like different pieces of clothing and stuff.
Well, and I mean, that's reasons to play the game, which is good.
Yeah.
But I just mean like putting all, like if I'm playing a campaign mission and it's taking me for fucking ever, I can save and then come back to it later. I've at least saved my progress. But in PUBG, it's like you're either in or out.
Yeah.
There's no coming back later. So I don't know. I just think that they built off a concept that worked, that people really liked, and they just did it a way that no one else has done it before.
Yeah, and I think
call it luck, call it whatever, but it works.
Yeah, no shit. And I think two of the things that work for it the most are one of that it's of that everybody on a level playing field, and the squad aspect when you can play with your friends as well.
Yeah, true.
Because there's no doubt when you play PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, if you've played it before and you've played the solo, and then you've played with either it's duo when you're just with one, or if you squad up with four, it's hands down more fun. Yeah. Because like Tanner mentioned what I mentioned his comment in the AMA video last week, he talked about how tactically the game and how constant communication you have to like keep in contact with your teammates, that is unparalleled in any game, because when you're like raiding a town, you have to communicate what items you found. You have to communicate what items you need. What building
it was?
Yeah, what building it was, what items you need. And then when you hear shots, there's no, especially when you get hit, because if anybody's played a first-person shooter, or a third-person shooter for that matter, when you get hit, usually in those games, it provides like kind of like a mini marker for where it's coming from. But in PUBG, it just shows blood on the screen, and
you got to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah, exactly. And then they provide a compass. So if you're on a team and you hear shots or you're getting shot at, you have to read, and especially if you're playing PUBG, and I've done this before, and this is probably why I fail so many times. If you're playing PUBG and you don't have gaming headset on, you're not going to do well. Because with the gaming headset and how it's able to show, like, have specific sounds depending on where the direction they're coming from, I've never had a game where that is more important. Because when you hear a shot in PUBG and you're trying to decipher where it's coming from, especially when you're by yourself, that shit is impossible. Like, I've tried to play solo and I've converted to first person, because that's, even if I'm doing shitty, first person is way more fun than third person, at least for me. But even then, to decipher where the shots are coming from, let alone if someone's good enough, once they shoot once, all it takes is like 4 and you're dead. So if you hear one, oh shit, where'd it come from? Boom, you're dead. And I just think the team aspect and the fact that, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the unscripted events that happen in PUBG. I think that's another thing that really brings players in, specifically when it comes to Twitch and how it's always constantly among the top 3 in viewers.
I mean, I will say this, games that offer you customization of your characters, the more the better. And the fact that you can be wearing basically like hockey pads and like a biker helmet and driving around in a doom buggy and like a battle royale, that's pretty hilarious.
Exactly.
So I think it's enough. It's almost like planned chaos. That's how I describe it, because it's like, okay, you have this crazy shit going on, but it's all part of the game and everyone knows it.
Yeah, and I think to play off the unscripted events thing, and because of the fact that you can generate these unscripted events, it makes the game entertaining to watch. And I think especially with how it's able to raise the amount of concurrent players, that's what they call it, concurrent players, when they talk about the 1.3 million number that we mentioned earlier. I think it has a lot to do with the entertainment value of even watching it, because let's say you're a gamer and you're hearing in the gaming community that this game called PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, is making all this storm, so you want to see what it's about, and then you jump on Twitch and you see these guys that are really good playing, and when you find a guy that's really good, it's entertaining to watch, and you're like, I wonder if this is as fun to play as it is to watch, and then that's how you get a community.
That's a good point, because honestly, in this new age of gaming, whatever's being streamed is the most popular. So that game it is very fun to watch. It's one of the more fun games to watch.
I've never watched a game more so than I've watched PUBG.
And I'm not a big person. Like, I'll admit it. I don't watch streams or anything like that. And I don't, like, if I'm with somebody, I love watching people play. So I'm surprised I don't watch more streams. But that's, I mean, if you're gonna make a game and you cater it to that crowd, boof.
And it's perfect for someone like me and Tanner and I, another Patreon supporter, shout out. We were talking about this earlier in the week, where we talked about, because he streams at PUBG at work too, and it's not like I watch it, because I've mentioned this before. It's not like I'm watching it intently, like I'm watching like a TV show or a movie, but it's just something that's on, and it's like if I hear the noise that they're coming down like the top 10 or the last 10, then I'll probably watch it more intently, because like, all right, shit's about to get real, and these dudes are gonna go nuts and just do some crazy stuff. So that's super entertaining, and then I just have it on. Like when they're gathering all their loot and stuff, I don't really watch. But then when they start getting the battles and stuff, I started watching it. And it's really entertaining. And I think to that aspect, the entertainment value of it, of just watching it, and then the word of mouth to the point where, okay, you watch it, you're like, wow, this looks pretty fun. If it's enough fun for me to watch it, God knows how much fun it probably is to play it. And if some of your if some of your friends are playing it too, and you add that aspect of it being 10 times more fun if you're playing with friends, then I can definitely see...
Sign you up.
Yeah, exactly. I can definitely see why it's popular, but I would never expect it to be 1.3 million plus popular.
Yeah, definitely.
At the same time, that's the shit that blows my mind. Because it's one thing with game sales. It's another thing to be playing all at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
So the last story I wanted to go through, and I forget, I think it was last Wednesday, the Nintendo Direct was on. So the Nintendo ran this press conferences, and what they do throughout the year, sometimes they kind of announce them randomly, but they do what's called these Nintendo Directs. And they kind of, I know one of them is a spotlight. So they have these different types of press conferences. Nintendo Spotlight is when they have one game at the center of the press conference, and they kind of just come out with much more information about it. So games like on the Nintendo Switch, games like ARMS, Splatoon, they both had a Nintendo Spotlight, because it's like, these are popular games that people want to know about, so we're going to come out, release all this new information, like new maps, new characters, new ways to play, that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
But then Directs are explaining a plethora of games.
Because I thought Nintendo Direct was like their, I don't know how to explain it, their backwards compatible program.
Oh, really? I think it's Virtual Console.
Oh, that's what
called.
it is. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, Nintendo Direct is kind of like a mini E3. If you don't, E3 is where gaming companies come off to show off their new games. So they just want to give an update on the new games that are coming out to Switch and 3DS as well, which we'll get into that later. But then obviously their highlight of the Nintendo Direct was just giving more information on Super Mario Odyssey, which is their big game coming out in the fall. So I just wanted to go through a few announcements that they had, because they had a couple big ones, especially ones that were completely out of left field that I didn't even know could come to Switch. And then we'll get into our classic little straight gaming rant for the second week.
Because it's going to happen all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in the gaming industry, especially when you're dealing with good old Nintendo,
it'll always piss you off, no matter what. You'll never be happy.
Yeah, and for the first time, it's not hardware, but it's a game, and it's a game choice in the system that it's put. Well, we'll get to it later.
Yep.
So the first one that they came out with, I'll go with the one that we were expecting. Skyrim got a release date.
Which is cool.
November 17th, which is cool because I've always been a fan of Skyrim, and the fact of being able to take it mobily is really sick.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, because and I've read up on the game itself, and I've heard people talk about it. If you've played through Skyrim in its entirety and like put serious amount of hours in, like I know some people have, Ian, friend of the show, shout outs, put many hours into Skyrim as a total. But if you've gotten the entirety out of the game, there's nothing new really in the game.
Right.
But the aspect of being able to take it
on the go.
That's
the difference. Because
huge.
I mean, let's be honest. You hear the Switch, and immediately you're thinking plane rides.
Yeah.
Done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the fact that what's the longest plane ride on average that you're probably going to take is going to be like 4 or 5 hours if you're really going cross country. Skyrim.
Yeah, that's like 70% of a battery life, because the Switch battery life can last you that long.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just bring a cord.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right.
Whatever.
Yeah, or like extra battery, because they sell those. But yeah, just like a game like Skyrim, and they have added stuff like you can acquire through an amiibo. I don't know. Do you know what amiibos are?
No.
They're like little, and this is one of like Nintendo's just weird things that they do, but it's actually pretty popular. They're little like almost action figurines, and they have sensors in the bottom of them. And the Switch, I think it was the right analog stick has a sensor in it where if you put the amiibo on top of it, it senses what type of amiibo it is. So if you have Skyrim and you get this Link, otherwise known as the main character in Zelda, amiibo, and you scan it, you get the Master Sword, you get like Link's classic attire on your Skyrim character.
That's nuts.
Yeah, you can do it like that, or you can find it in the game like through missions. But if it's one of those like I want this shit now,
yeah.
So you just buy the amiibo. So that's really the only thing new. But I feel like just Skyrim to have that massive an RPG and that much game, like an extensive of a game where you can easily put 200 plus hours into it.
Here's the biggest like takeaway that we've talked about: the fact that you can put a game, because normally, I mean, since we can probably all remember, ever since the original PlayStation, everything's been a disc.
Yeah.
And then before that, there were these big honking cartridges like the N64, the SNES, everything.
Because even GameCube, they still had discs. They were just smaller.
Really small, right? The Switch is the first one, and their games are on SD cards, which are literal SD cards.
The size of the end of my finger.
Exactly. And the fact that that game can fit on something that's this big I just don't get it.
It's insane.
That blows my... And especially to run effectively with... I mean, again, Skyrim, not known for the graphics.
No.
Not the point. But still that it can.
And it still looks good.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
for
not like
Skyrim,
it's bad.
It looks good.
Yeah, it's not like it's bad or anything. I'm just saying that it's not like, Uncharted or something like that.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can do that, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So yeah, November 17th, that got actually a release date. And the reason why it's a big deal is because they announced Skyrim at E3, but they just said holiday, so they didn't put a release date on it.
Do you think that means that no Fallout for the Switch then?
I mean, Fallout 4 specifically. I mean, I think they could. I think because this is, I think, was specifically with Bethesda as a developer studio, because 2 more games that they announced were the 2 surprises were also Bethesda. And I think what they're doing specifically when it comes to Skyrim, if you mentioned Fallout, I think they'll take Skyrim and see how well it does on the Switch and how well it sells and be like, okay, if it sells pretty well, then maybe it might be worth our money to put it on the Switch or put Fallout on the Switch.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, because they also, when you talk about a different developer company, Rockstar, which is, if you don't know, is the makers of Grand Theft Auto, and they announced, I mean, it's super random. I never played LA Noire, but it was super random for a developer studio like Rockstar to, if they were going to choose any game to port over to Switch, it would be LA Noire.
I didn't even know they did that, really?
Yeah, they announced that at the Nintendo Direct.
I don't even know what LA Noire is.
It's like I don't even think I played it.
Was it after Liberty City Stories?
I believe so. Because I think it's like you're a private investigator, and it's almost like a Telltale.
Yeah.
But you go through like these investigations, and depending on the decisions you make, changes them, and depending on
so
what
it's not,
you
it's
find.
Not, it's not really a typical Grand Theft Auto game.
It's when you think of Rockstar, it's definitely not a typical Rockstar
That's interesting.
game.
Very interesting.
And if they were going to choose any game to port over there, it seems weird that they would choose that. But I mentioned with Bethesda, it's almost like an experimentation where, all right, let's see. This game has the capability to port over to Switch. Let's see how well it sells. And if it sells well enough, maybe someday, like maybe when they announce Red Dead Redemption 2, they'll say, guess what, motherfuckers? It's coming out on the Switch too.
Right.
And shit would absolutely explode.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Because Rockstar's going to, I mean, their games are going to be selling outrageously to the point where I mentioned to you before the show, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2014.
Yep.
And it is still number 2 on the game sales charts. Number 2.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. So Rockstar obviously has no problem selling their games, but if you're going to go up to Rockstar and say, hey, if you find a way to get this on Switch, your sales are just going to skyrocket. There's like, wait, we can make more money?
I've heard grumblings that the newest Grand Theft Auto is supposed to be like a remake of Vice City.
Vice City, yeah.
But in like a new city. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because the way Rockstar does their gaming cycles is that, I mean, because like we said, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2014, and Red Dead's still doesn't even have a date. Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't have a date yet, but they said mid-2018. So I'm thinking maybe March or April around that time. Yeah. But if they delay it again, it's not going to come out till November.
Right.
So that's not even come out. And I think especially when you talk about the success of GTA Online, because whether you get into multiplayer games or not, that shit is absolutely outrageously successful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To the point where I'd be actually curious to see what their concurrent players is as well. But that's why they're so high in the gaming charts, because that resale value of the Grand Theft Auto Online. Because when we first played it, it wasn't really up and running.
No, it was pretty wonky. And I kept the game for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And I did play it when it worked, and it was cool. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, and it's just the amount of things that you can do.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
In that game, just with the campaign alone. And then you add in this online aspect where people can do all this shit together and against each other.
Exactly.
You can see why its sales so high. So I have a feeling when they come out with Red Dead 2, we're not going to see another Rockstar game until 2023 or some shit.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. I mean, I would love to see a Vice City remake, though. Yeah. I loved Vice City growing up.
Yeah. Speaking of Red Dead Redemption 2, that's going to be... Yeah. I mean, Rockstar is one of those studios where it's just like, just take my money.
Yeah.
Just take my money and give me your product. So then the other 2 games that were from Bethesda that were really surprises were Doom and Wolfenstein 2. And the reason why these are big deals is because these are... In Skyrim, it was a game made a while ago.
Yeah, right. And you knew it was coming already.
Yeah, exactly.
On that console.
Yes. So. And yeah, that's a good point. And when you talk about Skyrim, when we say AAA games, it means big games with big budgets made by big budget studios.
Right.
And Skyrim, it's made by Bethesda, but it's not really considered a AAA game in like today's day and age because it was made so long ago. But Doom and Wolfenstein 2. Doom less so because it came out last year, but Wolfenstein 2, that shit comes out in October.
Yeah.
Now, the Switch version doesn't come out till 2018. They didn't have a release date for it, and they didn't have a release date for Doom either. But the fact that, and I was watching the Kind of Funny guys because they were doing a live stream on it, and they saw the Doom and the Wolfenstein logos, and they're like, what the shit? Like, what?
Yeah.
A AAA game of like this high quality is coming to the Switch? And I'm just curious, like, I'm absolutely going to try them, but I'm just going to be curious, especially a game like Wolfenstein 2, because the resolution and the quality of those graphics, especially
and the
newest
controller
one.
too.
Yeah.
Because the controller is kind of wonky on the Switch.
Yeah, I can't imagine playing a FPS, a first-person shooter, with the Switch controller. I feel like that'd be so weird.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Splatoon, you kind of get a feel for it, but that's more third-person, and
right.
You don't have to be very accurate in Splatoon 2.
Yeah. This is kind of random, but Nintendo's not known for having mature games on their platform at all.
Let alone third-party games. And when we say third-party, it means non-Nintendo games. So like a third party for Sony would be like Naughty Dog.
Truth. Yeah.
And then a third party for Xbox would be like Halo, just to give you a few examples. So yeah, like you're absolutely right. And Nintendo,
because the N64, I'm pretty sure the only rated M game they ever had was
Perfect Dark.
Oh, was that one too?
I think Perfect Dark was M2.
Okay, so then Mortal Kombat.
Them and Mortal Kombat, but Conker's
yeah,
Bad Fur Day.
Yeah,
that was also.
I mean, I'm sure we'll miss a few. But,
yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I mean, and again, it was meant for kids, but the Switch is kind of meant for kids too.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not. Evidently.
Yeah, I mean, and Switch is selling just outrageously well, but why I wanted to bring up these two games specifically, because you get amount of like these AAA games that are just high quality, big budget games. And maybe it's just like, maybe it's an experimentation on Bethesda's part and Nintendo's part, because it's like, all right, we'll work with you. We'll put these games on Switch. We'll see how they sell. And then maybe we'll open ourselves up to, maybe you'll see a Call of Duty on the Switch someday.
Well, and I mean, FIFA too.
Yeah.
That's another, I mean, EA Sports and Nintendo is kind of random. I mean, I guess they have done it before. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's not that weird, but clearly it's doing well enough.
But I mean, we talk about these nostalgia games like Nintendo 64 and like GameCube and stuff, and because of how less of the amount of hardware that the games have to utilize, I guess it might be easier to think of porting games over. But you think about the games that the type of power they require now. You look at a game like Destiny or like the newest Call of Duty. The newest Call of Duty was shitty, but the graphics are still insane.
Right.
So the amount of hardware and the amount of specs and technology it takes to run these games, to put it on, like we said, a little tiny SD card and run it on a mobile device.
That's tiny.
Yeah, on a mobile device, and still be able to run at 1080p, maybe not 60 FPS, frames per second, if you don't know. But
close.
Maybe, but like 35 to 40 maybe, probably most likely 30 if you're talking those big res games like Wolfenstein. But I just thought it was really interesting that Nintendo would bring these big third-party games on. And the last one I want to talk about is the one that I wanted a little mini rant here, is that Nintendo announced a brand new game. Nobody's ever heard about it. This was a brand new announcement where they take the top 100 mini games as a part of all the Mario parties that have been created. So I think the last one on the Wii was Mario Party 9, I believe. It's 9 or 10.
I would have no idea.
So either 9 or 10 of these Mario Party games. And if you, probably many of you have played Mario Party before. One of the more classic party games.
Super fun.
Yeah, absolutely fun. So many mini games. And they created this game called Mario Party Top 100. And the idea of it is that you get all these, it's just mini games only, and it's the top 100 of the Mario Party mini games, and you can play them online, and you can play them with friends.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
That sounds really fun. You're probably thinking, Joey, why do you want to rant?
Why are you bummed?
Why do you want to rant about this?
You're gonna get on your Switch, dude. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, but guess what, everybody? Nintendo decided to pull a typical Nintendo move, and guess what? It's only on the Nintendo 3DS.
Oh,
like I don't even understand the idea behind only putting on the 3DS, because Mario Party has the graphics capable where you can port it over to Switch.
Right.
Because even if they have classic graphics in Nintendo games, nobody's going to give a shit.
Yeah.
And the idea of the two Joy-Cons coming out on the Switch and two players playing with one controller and the multiplayer aspect that Nintendo is trying to push with the Nintendo Switch, it was born for this game.
Right. And
the Switch has just been asking for this. I mean, Mario Kart was good, but I don't know what it is. You and I specifically, we just kept getting our asses kicked, and I don't know what it was, and it was a difficult situation for us because usually we'll be crappy at games starting out, but usually, we'll get pretty damn good at them as we go. But Mario Kart, we just never got good.
Get dunked on.
Yeah. But it was just like, I heard the announcement of the game. I was like, oh, this is such a cool idea. I am absolutely going to buy this, but only on the Nintendo 3DS. And you talk about, put my personal feelings aside, from Nintendo's standpoint as a company, why the fuck? That is so much money you are leaving on the table.
Yeah.
That game would sell tenfold. It would probably be the highest sold game on the Switch so far. And yet, probably besides Legend of Zelda.
Right.
But just so much money you're leaving on the table. And if you want to come out with Nintendo 3DS, fine. If that's your choice, I'm not arguing with that.
Just
but
do
to
both.
not even put it on the Switch, 3DS only, that's
outrageous.
It's just simply, there's no other way to put it by saying it's outrageously shitty.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my little rant. Mario Party, I don't know when it's coming out. I don't really give a shit because I don't have a 3DS and I only have a Switch, and I just wanted it so bad for the Switch. And another disappointment for the Nintendo Direct. Still no Super Smash.
Yeah, that's not fun.
It's
coming.
It has to, but we were talking about it. Specifically, no announcement or even tease at this Direct. It's pointing all signs to a new Super Smash.
Oh yeah. No, it'll be a new one. It won't be a port. It won't be anything. It'll just be brand spanking new.
Yeah, when you hear us say port, it means taking a game like Mario Kart's the best example to use. Mario Kart 8 was on the Wii U, and then they ported over to Switch, which means they just took the same game, kind of made a few changes to adapt it to the Switch, and they added the DLC content included in the game, and they called it Deluxe. So when you take the same game from another system and then just kind of upgrade it to the new system, that's what we mean by port. So if you don't know the terminology, there you go. So yeah, there's my mini rant. And like I said, no Super Smash, but I'm patiently waiting because if I'm being honest, it's pretty much 90% of the reason why I bought the Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I thought it was coming at E3.
Right, yeah.
And they still haven't fucking announced it. So it's just absolutely unreal. So there's our stories of the week. Definitely some good stories of the week.
Yep.
So now we're going to go into our topic of the show / what we've been playing, and it is all about Destiny 2.
Right.
And I've been playing shitloads of the Crucible. So much fun. So many different game modes that they've added with the competitive play. It's so much fun. And you've been playing the story mode, right?
Pretty much entirely.
And
by that I mean
only.
That's all I've played.
Yeah. And we were talking about this while we were playing, actually, concurrently. Hey, there you go. New term that we learned today. We were playing at the same time, and I was playing Crucible, and he was playing Story, and I was like, I just literally, just completely unrelated, just said, it was like, this is why I came up with Straight Gaming, because he gets into different aspects of games, and I love multiplayer, and you love the single player, and especially when it comes to a game like Destiny 2.
There's a lot to do on both sides.
And it's perfect for us to talk about because of how much we get into either side. So, just what do you think of the campaign so far?
Awesome. But
how far have you gotten?
Not super far. Because I get sidetracked on all the side missions.
Oh, yeah.
So I do those and get because if you do those, gets your level up and you get pretty sick gear that helps you in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it a little bit easier on you, but it's more so just you get the XP, you get to level 20 really fast.
You've been playing a lot of public events too, right?
Yeah, when those pop up, I always do them because they're super easy to do.
Yeah, what can I explain the premise of the public events?
If anyone's never played Destiny before, basically when you play the game, just for preface sakes, you're online all the time.
Yeah.
So everyone you see, even when you're playing the campaign, other people can pop in and just chime in and start shooting stuff with you. So I always thought that was pretty cool. So if you're on the map, wherever you go, so let's say you go to one planet and you drop down, you're doing like a side mission or something, this little like icon will pop up and it'll say public event starting in X. You go and do it, and basically it just tells you a mission you have to do. Generally speaking, a lot of them are like a huge boss you have to beat. But if you beat it, you get loot rewards. And the thing is, if you are a dick, which is what I do all the time, you just do the mission that you're doing anyway, post up from way outside, and just kind of like ping the boss a couple times, let the other people take it out, and then just at the end come in and get the rewards.
So is it one of those things where as long as you get like some damage, you qualify for the rewards?
Yep.
Nice, that's awesome.
So I'll just be in the background like doing what I got to do, and then I'll just like kind of ping it a couple times. They'll blow it up and be like, okay, I'll go get my stuff.
Yeah, and I played one public event because you had to in order to unlock the golden gun.
Yeah.
So, and I just thought it was really cool when it comes to, because I played a little bit of the campaign. I mean, 90% of what I've done is with the Crucible because I love online multiplayer, especially when it comes to first-person shooters. One of my favorite games. I mean, genres of games to play.
Right.
But I played one public event, and I definitely like, and this is new because in the previous game, how their loot system would work, you would defeat the boss. It wouldn't the loot like shoot from and go like all different directions and stuff.
Kind of, yeah.
They would drop in like individual items, right?
Yeah, and now you have like a chest.
Yeah, like when you beat the boss, like the chest appears and it's just like sitting there. I really like that.
That's a way better detail that they changed.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because the thing is, if you do miss your items, you go to the postmaster.
That's so nice.
And they're there. Because you will miss some.
Oh, yeah.
It's just inevitable. So that's great. But it is cool to have a chest because it's just like, I just want to see what I get now.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking go back and figure that out.
And if you're talking about the little things, I mean, the feeling of, like, let's say you're beating a boss and it takes you, like, upwards of...
And there's a treasure chest.
Yeah, I mean, and the feeling of opening it, like, the sounds it makes, like,
Yeah,
the graphics and the animations for stuff as you get items, it's really... I mean, from a player's perspective, it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I
especially
agree.
when you go through a grind where, let's say, a long mission or maybe even a strike mission with your friends where it takes like an hour.
I agree.
It definitely makes it worth it.
The only thing I don't like about the campaign that I told you about was I wish there was new enemies.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
I mean, it kind of feels like this game is just almost like DLC of the first one, which I get to some extent because don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah.
It's worked. But it would have been cool because we've never seen anything like Destiny technically before. I mean, just in the idea of that the enemies you've never seen anywhere else. So you kind of think that they could have built a little bit more off of. Because like I think about when Bungie took Halo and you go through the Covenant, you go through the Flood, you go through the Elite, whatever, and they come back to it in later games and they build off that story. I get that. But I feel like for the first Destiny 2, they could have introduced like, okay, this is like a whole new world with a whole new enemy, blah, blah, blah. Because I get they're continuing the story. That's fine. But they could have tied it in a little bit differently.
Or maybe because you mentioned with the tied into the story. Because with how they built the Destiny story and how they built especially the beginning mission, how they just throw you right in. It's kind of like we talked about in the last episode where they build you into the story of you're walking through everything you experienced in Destiny 1
Right.
of it all destroyed and stuff. So with that narrative, I understand keeping the same enemies, but I agree with maybe even just throwing one.
Yeah, exactly.
If
like,
anything.
So, and like what destroyed it could have been something new.
Instead of the Hemoglobins.
Yeah, the goddamn Hemoglobins.
So yeah, I totally agree with you there. But I mean, other than that, you're pretty enjoying the campaign?
I mean, I love Destiny 1. It's not any different.
Yeah.
So,
what about the cutscenes? Because you said the graphics are just outrageous,
dude,
right?
the cutscenes are nuts.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't know if I just don't really remember the first one or not, but it's movie fucking quality.
Yeah.
But welcome to next gen.
Yeah, and welcome to Activision and Bungie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
god, it's ridiculous.
They wipe their asses with $100 over there.
Yeah.
So I've been playing the majority of the Crucible, like I said before, and the biggest thing that I've noticed, there's definitely a few critiques that I would have, and I feel like it's definitely something that is not completely out of left field to the point where I feel like they will do it like in a patch or like an upgrade or something or an update, and maybe they did it on purpose because what I'm talking about is so you have two different game modes when it comes to the Crucible, and the Crucible, for those of you that don't play Destiny, is the online multiplayer. So you jump into the Crucible, and then you have social matches, and then they have competitive matches. Social matches are usually control, so domination, if you don't know, where you capture flags or you stay in an area and you capture the objective and you capture the area and get points that way. Yep. Or Clash, which is just pretty much a team deathmatch type game. But the social aspect is where they don't have scores. They don't have individual scores for each player. It's pretty much just play. You have an objective to get to. So let's say Clash, you have like 30 kills to get. You still have an objective to get to that, and you have a winner and loser at the end, but individual scores are not tracked.
Right.
So they do that social aspect where it's like everybody just plays as a team. Individual ranks don't really matter. Just play and enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And I get that, and it's really fun, especially when you get new players and players that maybe don't have a knack for online multiplayer, especially when it comes to first-person shooters. You put them in an atmosphere where they're not going to get their ass kicked, and even if they do, they have players on their teams that are probably good, and they can't tell if they done shitty or they done well, but if they win,
they win.
They win.
Yeah.
So I get that, and that's really cool. But then you get into the competitive matches, and this is where I kind of have a critique where I feel like they'll upgrade it later. But they have different game modes within the social matches and the competitive matches, but I want them to be able to, or want the user, me, to be able to choose which game mode I play.
Right.
Because the game modes that I play the most, I think there's 2 different ones. I think there's 3, but I play the third one. I play it so little that I don't even remember it. There's one that's survival, where you each get 8 lives. Each team gets 8 lives, and it's pretty much like team deathmatch at that point, but you work the deaths down, and then once the other team reaches 0, then you just have to eliminate the players the final time.
Right.
And the other one is kind of like a rush type mode if you ever played Battlefield, where you set a charge and defend it to the point where there's 2 different charges on either side of the map, and once you set one, you can't set the other. So it's like once you set it, and if they defuse it, you can't go back. So it's like it's cool because it adds in strategy where, all right, when do we want to set it?
Right.
Where's everybody at? And another thing that I've liked, especially so far what I've played with Destiny, is that everyone, especially in the competitive matches, everyone is on the same page.
And they work together.
Yeah.
That's way nice.
And it's huge. Because with these competitive matches, especially with the set the charge one and the survival one, if you work as a team and you all travel together and you're battling together, when you roll up on even 2 or like 1, 2 players, or even 3, if you're all 4 together, 4 lines of fire,
it's over.
You're going to annihilate them. As long as you stay together as a team, you could just absolutely destroy people. And it's definitely a nice refresher, because you go into competitive modes and you think if you're just playing by yourself, just jumping in to play a few games, then you're probably thinking, all right, everybody's going to go their separate ways. Everyone's going to try to be a hero and then just get annihilated. But from what I've played so far, it's pretty impressive how, and I'm not have any form of communication with these people. So we just know that
you got to do it
to go together. And it's funny because I've had a few times where the game will start and I won't realize it, and I'll be texting someone or like checking my phone with something, and I'll all of a sudden hear in my headphones like someone stabbing me or someone shooting at me when I'm just standing still, and they're trying to get me to come like join the group, and I just like go and run with them and stuff. And then that happened to me a few times. Then I caught myself in later games where I'd run and then see on the map that somebody on my team was standing still, and I'd turn around and like throw a knife at him or like shoot him. And then I've done it like 2 or 3 times where I shot him, and then after like 2 seconds, then they'll start running.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you gotta, in order to be successful at those matches,
you gotta work as a team.
You gotta work as a team. And plus, with the rewards that you get with the Crucible, it's really cool the way that Destiny forms their loot system, because with whether you're like you, where you just want to play the campaign and like story-driven missions, or you're like me, when you like more of that online head-to-head multiplayer, they give you sick-ass rewards.
That you use in both.
Yeah, that you can use in both, and they also have unique rewards that you can only get in certain game modes.
Yeah.
And above all, you're not getting, like, you don't get better stuff in the campaign, you don't get better stuff in the Crucible. It's all super badass.
Yeah.
And the way they have it where you earn tokens the more games you play, and then you turn those in to earn yourself to rewards. I really like that system.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, and the end of being able to choose individual game modes, because being able to say it's like, okay, I just want to play survival right now, or I just want to play I forget what the game mode is called, but the set the charge game mode. I want to be able to choose which game mode I'm playing and not just get thrown into whatever it decides.
Right.
And the only other gripe that I'll have with the Crucible is that they changed it from 6v6 to 4v4. And I like the shortening of the team aspect because it brings that capability of working together, like, makes it more important.
Right.
But the only thing that's negative about it is their matchmaking capabilities, to the point where if you play Destiny, you know that multiplayer games, there's not really many times where you can join in on a current playing game.
Right.
So if you're on a team of 4 and you're starting the first round, and then all of a sudden maybe one person disconnects and one person quits, it's 2v4 on game modes that you need a team.
And you can't,
and you're fucked.
Yeah, and that's not even a gripe on Destiny. That's just games in general.
Yeah.
Because how many games have you played where people drop out and it's like, you're totally boned.
Yeah. And it's just, because I mean, you have games like Call of Duty where someone drops out. It's almost like someone drops out and someone popping right in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But with Destiny, like, you have a unique multiplayer, which I like, but it gives that added caveat of if someone drops out, you're pretty much screwed.
Right. Yeah.
But it just goes into
That's very true.
Yeah, it just goes into another opportunity where you can choose what game modes you play. So let's say, okay, I want to play 4v4 with survival. Cool. Match those up. There you go. Go ahead.
Good to go, yeah.
But then maybe you want to join maybe a 6v6, like a bigger game mode, then you can also do that. But from a developer standpoint, I know it's kind of maybe too much of a wish because you get into the situation where maybe you might not have a lot of players in one division, so you have trouble with matchmaking. And then I understand that, but I'm all about choice, specifically when it comes to multiplayer, and especially because, you could give, at least a chance for game mode.
Yeah, right.
If it's not, you can't choose how many players you can play in one match, that's cool, but at least give me a chance to choose what game mode.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So how far along you in the campaign, you think?
Not very far.
No?
Maybe like 20%, 25%.
Gotcha. And you're almost level 20, right?
Yeah, I'm like a level and a quarter or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I reached level 20 last night, so that was pretty cool. I just definitely did some heavy grinding.
And it's good you mentioned that because I will say, compared to the first one, it seems like you level way faster.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just me just thinking of something that isn't true, but it definitely seems like I cruised through.
Yeah, and it's cool because especially when it comes to the Crucible, whether you win or lose, you still get loot, you still get XP. All they want you to do is play, but if you quit, then you don't get shit.
Right.
So that added incentive can be looked at as a positive because if you're a game developer, you're just like, all we want you to do is play, stick with your teammates, and try.
Good. Yeah.
Don't actually play, because if you're just standing there idle, they'll kick you out.
Right, yeah.
But it's like, all right, just play, join your teammates, play the full game, stay there the whole time, and we'll give you a reward.
Right.
It's going to be worth your while.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect. And overall, we're going to go back and probably play some more tonight.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I can't get enough right now, and especially with my mini fallout of PUBG.
It's perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been binging hardcore on Destiny 2, and I don't picture myself stopping anytime soon.
I agree.
Yeah. So there you go. If you want to let us know about your opinions about any of the stories, how crazy PUBG record-breaking is, how cool would it be if you were able to play Super Mario 64 online, or if you want to see other games like that become online, let us know. Or if you want to just talk about how much you like Destiny 2, or if you want to see any critiques or what you want to be critical of Destiny 2, feel free to let us know in the comment section below. Or as always, go to patreon.com/TJENT. Donate $1, $2, $5, or $10 and post on that wall, and you get stuff in the show.
Yep.
So there you have it, everybody. There is Straight Gaming episode 3. A lot of different stories and a lot of different topics that we talked about, mostly Destiny 2. But hey, it's a big game right now, and we love it.
And we're playing it.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves. Exactly, yeah. And that's what we are currently playing. So there you go, everybody. Thanks for joining. We hope you enjoy the episode, and we have many more content for you in the future. Tuesday, Real Talk with Tom and Joey, episode 1. So we'll see you then.
Peace out, guys.
Peace.